Hi, I'm John DeVore. Welcome to the channel. Today is going to be a record review, but first I just wanted to say that we have reached 10,000 subscribers on our channel. So thank you so much, everyone out there who has subscribed or shared or any of those things. It was pretty much a year to get to 10K. So I really appreciate everyone who comes in and watches with me, who makes great suggestions for future videos, who comments on the videos, and thanks very much. My plan is to keep on going with it. So here's the 10K video. It's going to be a record review. It's a record that's been kind of floating around as an idea that I wanted to do as a video for a while. It is a live record, and it is an unusual case in that it is a live record that is my favorite record from that artist. The artist is Grover Washington Jr. He was a saxophone player from Philly, and this album is his live album at the Bijou, which is a club in Philly. Grover Washington Jr. he's a great saxophone player. He doesn't get a ton of jazz credibility because he was very much in the jazz soul style. And he pretty quickly, after this album came out in 1977, a few albums after this, he came out with an album called Wine Light, which I think was his #1 selling album. And it is very smooth jazz. He's known as one of the founders of the whole smooth jazz genre of music. And everything from Wine Light, maybe even Skylarking, and on, suffers terribly from smooth jazz. The stuff from before that is varied, generally great. There's a lot of Harry James style in there. Harry James was the arranger for a lot of the records. The records up until Live at the Bijou, a little bit of a mixed bag in that a lot of his records are very cover heavy. So Grover Washington Jr. did a lot of records that had top 10 soul and R&B songs from that time, from the 70s, done in his jazz soul sort of smooth way. For the most part, done really well, and his band absolutely has the swing and has the funk to it. They're not exactly cheesy, but if you're not looking for some jazz instrumental versions of Marvin Gaye or Bill Withers, you may not like some of those records. In my opinion, his best non-live record, even including Live at the Bijou, is Mr. Magic. It's great funk jazz. It's all originals, or at least it's not big top 40 covers. And it's an excellent record. I found out about Grover Washington Jr. in the early or mid 70s. My dad left academia and left his teaching job at UMass and started to sell beads on a blanket in Harvard Square. And within a couple of years, after doing a lot of craft fairs and things like that, he found a retail spot in Bar Harbor, Maine. And so my sister and I would take the bus up to Bar Harbor, Maine every summer, give my mom a break down in Boston, and we would spend the summer up at my dad's shops. And I would sit there and string up necklaces and crawl around under the tables and find all the little lost beads that rolled away. And I was able to make and sell necklaces for free for just using those beads. And he had a stereo setup and he would play music all day long. One of the artists that he would play is Grover Washington Jr. He had the Mr. Magic record there, and he had another one, A Secret Place maybe, and he also played a lot of Cat Stevens and a lot of folk music, stuff like that. But it was something that I got to know really well just from having it playing in the background all the time while I hung out during the day. I first heard the live album from an employee of his who was from Philadelphia, but she would summer in Bar Harbor, Maine, and that was her summer job. And so she brought this in and played it, and I absolutely loved it. So I bought it when I got home, and I used to play it on my mom's hi-fi and invite my friends over, and we would just think about how funky and how groovy it was. There's a shout out in here. One of the percussionists on this record, his nickname is Dr. Gibbs. So there's actually a shout out in here by Grover to Dr. Gibbs and there's two doctors in Philly, Dr. J and Dr. Gibbs. Dr. J was my absolute favorite athlete of the time. And I still believe that he was the greatest basketball player that has ever lived. He could do magical things flying through the air that even Jordan was never really able to quite accomplish. Obviously, Jordan's numbers were better, and the stuff that he accomplished was pretty incredible too. But I just watching Dr. J play a ball game. I mean, I was from Boston, so I was from the Celtics side of things. But the games that I absolutely most wanted to watch were always the Celtics versus the 76ers. Just so I could watch Dr. J do his astounding things. Anyway, this is my favorite Grover Washington Jr. record. It doesn't have any of that schmaltzy, instrumentally covery thing going on. It's all funky. There are slow songs and fast songs. The solos on here are astonishing. The sound quality recorded in the venue is actually really good. And it's just a killer record. A killer, very funky jazz record from the mid to late 70s. Highly recommended. Thank you for watching, and thank you for subscribing, 10K. And I will see you at the next video.